Talk Raptor for a second. Sweet. Okay, so my name is Tony. I've been talking Raptor for a long time. I've been on Raptor for a long time. I want to start by just pointing out the fact that I really don't usually have these types of discussions with F-150 here, but that's okay. We're going to all launch at the same time this year. Something fairly new. Never really done that. But it's also okay because we are the off-road performance variant of F-150. We're part of this family, and so we should be part of this discussion as well. John, who you guys listened to for a few minutes in the other room, talked a little bit about, hey, in 2009, that's when Raptor started. I want to kind of start from there, and then I'm going to end from there. In 2009, that's an important year, right? That's where we kind of got going with the steel body Gen 1 5.4 with a super cab. It was a pretty rudimentary off-road truck, right? But we had something there, and through 3 generations, we've continued to kind of deliver on that vision for the customer to always kind of get them closer to trophy truck performance. That's kind of what the vision is. That's what we try to do every time we do a new Raptor. John also mentioned that the portfolio is growing, so it's not just an F-150 thing anymore. Raptor now exists also on Raptor, and it exists also on Ranger. And that's an important thing to understand because that means that when we start to develop all those Raptor brands, all those Raptor products all kind of come out of Ford Performance. When we look at developing a Raptor, we always kind of take the same recipe. It's the same recipe was in 2009, it's the same recipe going forward. That means that we prioritize suspension number 1, power number 2, appearance number 3, tech number 4. Okay, and I'm going to spend a minute on each one of those, and then we'll end with a closer if you guys have some questions. Okay, so let me start first and foremost with suspension. We are keenly aware, okay, that our suspension really is what makes you faster in the desert. Okay, and so new this year in the 24 is to add the rebound control to our shocks. Okay, so we're bringing in dual valve, and dual valve will be available on anything that has a 37-inch tire. Okay, now dual valve is just an evolution of the technology that we brought in 2018. In 2018, we added compression control. And you could drive the old truck that had passive shocks and then the new truck that had the compression control, and it was a night and day difference. The compression control truck just stuck to the ground, okay? And you couldn't move it when you were kind of trying to go fast. You couldn't move the rear end. This truck takes that to a whole new thing, right? You remain planted to the ground. And if you want to go fast in the desert, right, what you don't want to be doing is repositioning the truck with inputs, steering, throttle, drive, whatever. You don't want to be doing that. That's going to take your speed, okay? And these shocks will help you do that. And the customer will feel that. There's a tangible benefit off-road with these shocks. A second thing that I will tell you is that from an on-road perspective, because we were just out west kind of driving these trucks about a month and a half ago, we were in California doing some spirited mountain driving, I would call it. And you could definitely tell that the body roll and the cornering, right, the dynamics of the truck, the driving dynamics of the truck are much higher. So the customer gets both the benefit on-road and lastly, I will tell you that our guys that are in Ford Performance really now, they've developed the algorithms that control those shocks. They really have to be experts in the hardware and software of this truck because they need to know how all of the hardware and software is going to behave. And I'll give you an example. That rear suspension behaves differently than a rear suspension on any other F-Series, right? It's a coil spring. You need to know how that thing is going to perform or you cannot write an algorithm for a shock. And that's why this has kind of been an activity that's been done in-house by our guys, by our experts. Okay. Moving on to power. Okay, this is the V6. It's equipped with the 37. It comes with the dual valve, as I mentioned. Right. This is 450 horsepower with 520 torque. This is plenty of power for 95% of the year. Okay. I often tell people that you will run out of your capability before the truck runs out of it. And that is true for this Raptor and probably every single Raptor that's come before it, okay? But for that 5 or 10% of people that want that little bit more, they want extra horsepower, extra capability, extra speed, they got that something burning inside that needs more. Last year we brought out the Raptor R. Okay, this has the supercharged V8. I'm going to refrain from telling you horsepower and torque numbers today because that's something we're going to share at some later point in time. But I will tell you that this is the most capable and most powerful Raptor we've ever made. And this is the most capable and most powerful Raptor that will play in the off-road truck segment. Okay? All right. Last thing before I leave power, right? And I try to say this just because, you know, it's worth mentioning, right? It's entirely possible to go faster in the desert without giving you extra horsepower. Because my chief always says to me, what are we doing to the chassis? What are we doing to the chassis? What are we doing underneath the truck? Because that's what's going to make you faster. So just keep that in mind. Not today, not tomorrow. Just keep it in mind going into the future that, like, it's not always possible to add power, but you can always do something in the chassis that can make you faster out. And in the end, this is what this is all about. Okay? Number 3, appearance. We had an opportunity to design this bumper right here. We refer to it as the modular bumper. Okay? This is a Ford Performance design part. Okay? When we started designing it, okay, we knew that it was an appearance item, sure, but we also wanted to make it something that put it through the lens of the off-road experience. So how do you do that? How can this bumper make you more off-road capable? So we took about 3 inches, we carved it out, exposed more tire, that makes you more capable. We added a light bar feature. This is something you would get installed in the dealer, right? So there's a bracket and there's a takeout that's sitting behind there. It's stowed behind there. The dealer just makes a plug and play, installs the light, which is a rigid light, just like the same brand as those over there. Off-road lighting makes you more off-road capable. We gave you more robust, redesigned, squared-off attachment points because rescue missions in the desert are nothing new, right? Doesn't matter if you're not, so you're a pro, rescue is still part of the game. That makes you more capable. And on top of that, when we started developing this, we thought to ourselves, you know what? We need to start to be more efficient with our engineering, and we need to design things that are reusable. So this center section is exactly the center section that's on that bumper over there. And all that's different and differentiated is the end caps. That truck, that's a different customer usage. It uses a winch, it uses a brush bar, it uses a light bar. This is a Raptor. It's meant to go fast off-road. It just needs light. Beyond the bumper itself, and I just mention this, guys, because it's also a new way of thinking within Ford to reuse, to be efficient in your engineering, and that's an important thing. The rest of the appearance thing, I think you heard us probably talk about coast to coast. We've always had a coast to coast grill. We do that because we want to look wide. We are wide, but we also want that wide, flat look like a trophy truck has. We did something different on the FORD, little front and rear. We kind of etched it in this time. We've never done that before. Take a look at the graphic. This is the first time we put a graphic on the fender. Graphics are new for like the B8 and the B6. This is Shelter Green. I think it was mentioned in the at the beginning there. Don may have mentioned it. This is Shelter Green. This is our new color for that is only available on Raptors, new for this coming year. And then take a look at this wheel. This is the typical wheel that we designed. We've had variations of it, but that's basically the D-block wheel that all of our customers love. And then that's when you take all handcuffs off of the studio and let them design what they want. That's the new wheel for the Raptor car, which I think they did a pretty good job. That's a 24, only on the Raptor car. Okay? So, and then if you open up the trucks, you will see that premium interiors, we've refreshed the color material, all of the carbon weave has been redone. Have a look at that. Okay, so that's going to be
Is the wheel made of anything interesting, or is it just
okay, so last thing, technology, which is the 4th pillar that I talked about. So we've spent a lot of time trying to understand what does a customer like and not like when they're doing high-speed maneuvers or performance driving, let's say. And so it's very easy to overwhelm them with a bunch of stuff on the cluster and a bunch of different colors and telltales and stuff like that. But what we decided was let's simplify what they look at and what data we present them when they're doing spirited driving. So we developed a performance IOD, information on demand, and it's basically just the critical data that you need when you're trying to go fast. Okay, it simplifies, it's easy to look at, it's visually appealing. There's also a head-up display that's been probably talked about in other stations, right? Raptor comes standard with a head-up display. We've also made it look Raptor, and we've also added our own unique content in the head-up display. We come back with trail control, which is standard, one pedal drive, which is standard. My mode, which is the only feature that's available on Raptor and not on F-150 or F Series for that matter, which is just a programming of a la carte modes. You can put it like a memory seat, kind of put it. And so that's kind of the tech piece. So I just had a little kind of thing that I like to end with, which is basically to say, guys, look, one thing before I get to that. Keep in mind that the 37-inch tire, regardless if it's on a V8 or a V6, drives dual valve shock, drives the modular bumper, drives the premium interior. So all that will always come together. Okay, and that's a way to kind of cut our configurations down to effectively 3 configurations. This is the V6 with a 37. There's a V6 with a 35 that's not here. We call it entry level Raptor. And then this is the V8 that's got everything. Okay, and the 35 inch would come with a standard bumper. It would come with a cast wheel, not a V-block. It would come with a less premium, non-required seat. Okay. All right, so I kind of like to end with a little bit to kind of bring it back to 2009. So I feel like I have a pretty cool job, okay? And I work with a lot of really smart people. And the people that I work with, many of them do this on the weekends on their own, right? They got Raptors, they got old Raptors, they got Jeeps, they got Broncos. Some of them are into some of them are more into rock climbing, some of them are more into high-speed desert running. Doesn't matter. The reality of it is there's a handful of people that go out and do this on the weekends, and then they come back and they teach us what they learn, and very many of those things make its way into these products. And that's a key thing, right? Because you have people that are actually doing this, and then they come back and tell us what we need to put into the trucks, right? And that's why, dating back to 2009, we've had people kind of come into the space and come back out of the space. We've had people kind of come in on the fringe. In the end, this space has kind of always been about Raptor. And I think today we kind of demonstrate again with dual valve and the other things I talked about that it's just us kind of leading this space. All right, I'll stop there.